a two-time All-American, two-time national champion. She hails from Papillion La Vista High School. Miss Jordy Bahl, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, how's it going?
I appreciate you joining me. So, first question, do you prefer Jordy or Jordan, or do you care?
I don't really care at all.
Okay, I got it. As you know, you met my daughter, Jordan. She definitely prefers
Uh-huh.
Jordan. All right, first question right out the gate. I'm sure you haven't been asked this at all, recently. How's the knee doing? You had the torn ACL. You're recovering. How you doing at this point in time with your rehab?
I'm doing good. I'm about halfway through my rehab. I'll be cleared in October, but right now I'm getting back into doing some more skill work, so that's been kind of fun. But otherwise, I can't complain. It's going pretty well.
All right, so for those who haven't done rehab or physical therapy, you hear about how painful it is, how tough it is. Is this your first injury that you've dealt with something like this? And what's the process been like for you so far?
Yeah, so this is like my first injury where I've had surgery and had a strenuous rehab thing going on. I had a stress fracture in my arm a little while back, and I would say this is honestly probably easier than that because I have a set plan that I have to follow. I have a time frame, and I have to slow myself down a lot more. So in that aspect of it, it's kind of good because I don't know. I have this mindset where I have to take it one day at a time. I'm not really focusing on the end goal, but just each day goals. But I would say just trying to not look too far ahead is the biggest struggle, right? It's right now I'm slowly getting back into pitching, and it's tough to wish I was where I used to be, but it's I'm still a ways away from that. And I'm not worried about getting back to there right now, but just trying to stay in the moment every day is the hardest part.
Yeah, it's kind of that day by day mindset, one day at a time, getting 1% better every day. Okay. Now, you redshirted last year, and I think I heard you say in an interview somewhere, it was almost like a good thing. Like you almost kind of needed a little bit of a mental break. And that's something I can definitely relate to. But for those out there who may be like, man, it's a sport, you're getting to play a sport. We know it's hard work, but why would you need a mental break or something like that? What has that break been like for you mentally? And how do you think it's actually, there's always a silver lining. How do you think it's potentially helped and benefited you?
Yeah, I mean, I look back at even my high school career, and it's since then, I don't think I've ever taken more than 2 weeks off because as a competitive athlete, you get told all the time, your body needs rest, your body needs to recover. But you take any more than a couple weeks off, and then your mind starts to play games on you, and you're like, okay, well, other people are working, other people are passing me up. You think of all the bad things that would happen if you just took a little rest. And so that's one of the hard parts about being an athlete. And in this situation, it's I really didn't have a choice. It's well, these are the cards that I was dealt. I'm looking at this 9-month recovery, and I probably won't even touch a softball for 4 months. So in a way, it's there's not really anything you can do about that. So here's the rest you've been wanting and needing for so long, but have never taken upon yourself. So in that way, I was kind of okay, thank you, God. I needed this break, and if it was up to me, I wasn't going to take it. So in that way, it's just totally refreshed my body, refreshed my love for the game, renewed it in a sense. I sat out for an entire season and watched from the sidelines, and that sucked at times. So just almost reminding myself, yes, you still love the game. I would say I was burnt out at times, but it's fixed that. So it's been really great for that reason.
I think people forget, it's not names and faces on a video game. This is real people with real emotions and things going on in life. And, everybody takes a break from their job. Everyone takes vacations, and I think sometimes people forget that the real people that are playing these sports, sometimes they need those same things as well. And sometimes we don't always get them. And so this can be, I'm a firm believer there's always a silver lining. So this is probably a good silver lining for you as you go throughout this rehab process. Now, the name escapes me. She was one of your teammates, Oklahoma, a couple of years ago. She was the 4-hole hitter, one of the best hitters in the history of the women's college softball. Can you remind me her name real quick?
Jocelyn Allo.
Yeah. So I was watching the Women's College World Series a couple of years ago, and she was telling how her dad took her out and had her start hitting when she was 4, which obviously really helped and benefited her. But there was a point where she was having a hard time, with her love for softball. And the head coach at Oklahoma said, take 2 weeks off and then come back. And so
Mhm.
you were probably there during this time. And so it's like one of those things where she almost benefited from a little bit of time off as well.
Yeah, that was actually the year before I got there. But both Jocelyn Allo and Coach Gasso told me that story. And at first I was like, what? But, being going on 3 to 4 years into my college career now, like it makes so much sense. And I can understand that. Where at the time, like as an incoming freshman, like if a coach told me that, I would have been like, no, like absolutely not. Like I would have thrown a fit probably. But I see now, like a few years down the road from that point, like, yeah, there's probably a lot of athletes that could benefit from that. But again, like if coach hadn't given that option to her, and not really, from my understanding, it wasn't even an option. Coach kind of told her, like, this is what you're going to do. And I don't even think she was super excited about it at the moment. But afterwards, she was like, I really needed that. And I think a lot of athletes at this level probably do.
Now, what's it been like for you? Because obviously Oklahoma just won their fourth straight Women's College World Series championship. You were there for two of those national championships as well. What's it like for you watching your former teammates, and what's it like for you, as I'm sure you keep in communication with them as well?
Yeah, I stayed in really great touch with them throughout the season, and I was happy to be rooting them on and happy to see them go out the way they did. There was a good chunk of girls on that team who literally went 4 for 4, and I was just it was crazy watching that history be made. And this time from the couch with some popcorn, it would have been awesome to be there, but again, like just the cards you're dealt. But I think it would have been really weird if those girls went out any other way. So I was very happy for them.
Now, obviously, playing for the Huskers, Nebraska is excited to have you come home, so to speak. What was the decision like? Okay, and you may have answered this before, but for those, including myself, who hadn't heard the answer to this question, what was the decision like and that process like for you to come home and play here at the University of Nebraska?
It was, I would say, very, very bittersweet. Reason being, like, I really never wanted to go that far away from home. But when you're given that opportunity, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna take it. And so, went away from home, played softball, made great relationships. But the longer I was away, like the more homesick I got. And usually it's the opposite. Like freshmen will go, it's new and exciting, that wears off. They're homesick for a little while, and then they kind of settle in and they find a new home away from home. And for me, it just like my freshman year was kind of rough, but my sophomore year, like right when I got back on campus, like it was just bad. And I got into a point where I was so burnt out on softball, and it was the only thing that in my mind, it's like I'm 7 hours away from everything else in my life that I love. And I don't even know if softball's in the top three things of the things that I love most. So I reached a point where it's like, why am I doing this? I'm miserable, and softball's not even on my top three, maybe top five right now. So I made the decision to go home. Home's always been super important to me. My family has always been a strong base for me, like growing up my entire life, especially through high school. Those were some hard years. And I just wanted to go back and finish my career close to them where they could be at everything. My coaches who supported me since I started playing the game, reunite with some former teammates. It just, in my heart, felt like the right thing to do. And I would say, being back home for a year now, I definitely made the right decision. But it was just bittersweet because obviously so much sweet about coming home, but also hard to leave the friendships and the relationships that I had made down there.
All right, now let's assume all goes well. Obviously, you're taking it day by day with your rehab, and that process. But let's say all goes well, you're able to play the next softball season coming up next spring. Okay, and Nebraska softball finished fourth in the Big Ten last year, won just under 60% of their games. What are some, and I know we're way far out, we're kind of way far away from that type of season at this point anyways, but what are some kind of like thoughts or expectations as you look a little bit down the road for next year's Nebraska softball team and season and how that might potentially go?
I would say that we are a team that's going to have a winning mindset, and our goal is to go out there and win every single game we play. We want to win the Big Ten. We want to go to the World Series. But obviously, like for those kind of goals, you have to take it day at a time, because kind of like what I'm learning with this rehab, it's like if you look down the barrel of a really long gun, it's like, man, that's a long ways away and you're going to stress yourself out. And the only way you get there is if you maximize on each and every day. So I think the motto and like our mindset still has to be day at a time. Like it's this practice before it's tomorrow's practice. And it's our Friday game before it's our Saturday game and our Sunday game, and it's this weekend before next weekend. And I feel like if you don't take it that way, then you're always going to fall short of the end goal. So we have our end goals. We have that in mind. Everybody knows what we're out there trying to do, but taking it one day at a time and not letting those goals be the only thing we talk about is going to be huge.
It's funny. I was a rookie with the Rams, and we were doing, back when you could do 2-a-days every day, we were doing 2-a-days every day. And I'm just going to be blunt. I was beat all to hell. And I'm watching Hard Knocks, and it's the Cowboys. And I'm watching Romo talking about how he loves the journey and embracing the journey. You know, if they could go to the Super Bowl, that'd be great. But he in no way, shape, or form fast forward to it, because you got to enjoy the journey. And I was not in a great mindset. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because I was all beat up. I was bruised. I was like, I'd love to skip through camp and just get to games or get to the Super Bowl. But being young and immature at that point in time, and I'm a little older, maybe a little less immature, I don't know. But I think I've learned a little bit, and embracing the process and enjoying the journey. Like you're talking about, a day at a time, you know, just taking it piece by piece. That is a huge part of the process for anybody out there who's dealing with an injury or something similar, or has a long goal ahead of them, and you feel like there's a lot in front of you. Taking it day by day. I know it's been around Nebraska culture for decades, but there's a reason it has been. It stood the test of time because it's a great mindset. All right, I want to get your thoughts on all the Husker sports. Kind of high tide raising all ships. All right, you got men's basketball, women's basketball in the NCAA tournament, baseball winning the Big Ten championship. Talked about softball, track and field, volleyball is always good. Football seems to be on the rise. A lot of other Husker sports doing really well as well. But what are your thoughts on all Husker sports seeming to be on the upward trend nowadays?
I think it's a great thing, and I think it's going to just continue to elevate everybody together. It's like with the setup that we have at the university, you spend all day around all different sports. So you'll see people from every different sport throughout the day over at the stadium. And I think it's just the more of a winning culture you have, and the more that everybody's around that, the more everybody is going to feed off of it and buy into it. So I think it benefits everybody and everything, and it's just an exciting atmosphere being at the stadium right now.
All right. So I gave the folks a heads up earlier about my awesome, not so awesome first pitch at the Omaha Storm Chasers game. All right, A through F. What grade would you give my first pitch? And you can be honest.
I'm gonna go like a B for the effort.
Okay.
Pretty. It wasn't in the zone. The person did not catch it. You almost took out a camera guy, but you hucked it in there.
I appreciate that.
And I respect the crap out of that, because the person that I threw it to, they caught it, but it was lobbed. I was scared, you know. And at the end of the day, I think I'd rather almost take out a camera guy than throw my kind of first pitch again. So I'm going to give you a decent grade.
I appreciate that. You're very, very kind. In Houston, we both met Houston. He was the poor individual who had to try to dig my ball out of the dirt. So I felt bad for Houston. All right. Last two questions here. What advice, would you give young softball players out there who maybe have aspirations of being the best high school player they can be if they're playing in middle or elementary school right now, or for those who may have aspirations of playing beyond high school? What advice might you have for them?
I would say you got to be disciplined. And I think one of the reasons is that, like, as a young girl, you watch softball on TV, maybe you watch the College World Series, you go to the state tournament for high school, and you see these athletes at, like, the peak of their seasons, peak of their careers. And that's, like, the high point. But for all the high points that there are in softball, there's like a million times the low points and the adversity. And so if you don't have discipline to work through those times, you're never going to reach those high points. And I think a lot of girls, maybe they start with their journey and they get shocked at how much failure you actually face, especially in a game like baseball or softball, where it's mostly failure. And you got to just learn to embrace that, learn from it, let it make you tougher, and then just keep on going.
All right, last question. You met my 5 daughters. So as you know, I always have my girls start playing baseball. Then they eventually transition over to softball. My daughter Dakota is actually playing baseball right now, and she's the only one so far that doesn't actually want to pitch in softball, which may allow her to play baseball longer if she wants to. Because if you're going to pitch in softball, as you know, you got to get over there and you got to start doing that sooner rather than later. But what are your thoughts? And again, you can be honest. I have absolutely no feelings or emotions whatsoever. But what are your thoughts on girls playing baseball before they eventually get into softball?
I think it's really cool, and I think that it gives these female athletes a good foundation. Grace Lyons, who I played with at Oklahoma, probably the best shortstop to ever play the game, and she played baseball, I think, until middle school or high school. I think middle school, but just the way she plays the game, she plays it like a dude, and it's so fun to watch. And her foundation is so strong, like in the infield, and I think a part of that is just her foundation in baseball. I think it's really cool.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Good luck in the rehab, and good luck as you prepare to get back on the diamond with Nebraska softball here, hopefully in the very, very near future.
Thank you.